Hey, it's Todd Thalimer coming to you from the Thalimer Observatory in Elizabeth, Colorado, and today we're doing the Thalimer Observatory Presents the Mythology of the Planets. So we want to talk about how do the planets get their names. Of course, as history always dictates, whoever wins the war gets to name the planet, or town, or country. And so a lot of these planets were discovered a lot earlier. But the Greeks and the Romans ended up getting to name a majority of them. So, and in fact, some of them, as we'll see, weren't named until there was telescopes because they weren't able to be seen in the sky. So, we're starting with the innermost planet, Mercury, and the Greeks named it after Hermes. Now, Hermes is the fleet-footed messenger that ran the marathon, and they named it that because, of course, Mercury, being the closest to the sun, orbits the quickest. So it has an 88-day rotational period, so that's pretty fast around the sun. So because it moves so quickly through the sky, they thought, oh, perfect, we're going to name it after the fleet-footed messenger Hermes. When the Romans came along, they, of course, wanted it to be named after their contemporary, which was Mercury. So that's Mercury. Moving outwards, next we have Venus. Now, as we know today, Venus is a greenhouse world with clouds and way too hot to survive. Now, they didn't know that way back then, but all those clouds were reflecting the sun, the sunlight. So it appeared very, very bright in the morning and the evening. And because it was such a bright and cheery planet in the morning, they wanted it named after the goddess of love and beauty, the Roman goddess. That would be Venus. So, moving outward, of course, the next planet would be Earth, our own planet. Now, why doesn't Earth have a Roman, Greek, mythological name? So it was named after the Anglo-Saxon word for ground, which would be Earth. And by the time that the other planets had begun being named these Greek and Roman names, the name Earth had stuck. We are the center of the universe, and it didn't really matter. So that would be why Earth is still named Earth and not a different name. Moving outward, Mars. So if we look at Mars in the sky, it appears kind of reddish, and as we know, based on having robots there and satellites and additional pictures, that the planet is very red. So because it is red, they thought it was originally thought it was the color of blood in the sky. So they ended up naming it after the Roman god of war, and that would be, of course, Mars. War and destruction. My apologies. And of course the moons, there's two moons, Phobos and Deimos, the two moons of Mars, and they're named after the sons of Ares, who is the Greek contemporary of Mars. So that is how those were named. Moving further out, of course, we have the largest planet, Jupiter. Jupiter is, of course, since it's the biggest planet, it's got most of the mass of the elements in our solar system. And because it's the largest, of course, it was named the greatest name of all. It was named Zeus. Well, of course, Zeus was the king of the gods. And then when the Romans came along, they, of course, wanted to be named Jupiter. So there you go. Jupiter has 67, possibly more moons, who knows. And the big four of those are known as the Galilean moons. They were discovered in 1610, around the time that the first telescope was invented. And Mr. Galileo named them after the loves of Zeus. Names like Ganymede, Callisto, Io, Europa. Those would be wives, lovers, muses of Zeus. So that would be Jupiter. Moving further outward to our ringed planet, Saturn. Now Saturn appears in the sky the longest out of any of the planets. From its rise time to the time that it does not rise in the night sky, is a very long time. So the Greeks wanted to name it after something related to time, so they named it Cronus, which is the god of agriculture and time, and which is perfect because by the time it rises in the night sky and the time that it does not rise in the time sky is the time that the earth is the most fertile, growing season, so god of agriculture, Cronus. Romans came along and said, hey, we want to name it Saturn, which is the father of Jupiter, so that's how that was named. Saturn has 62 moons, maybe more. And those are named for mythical figures that are related to Saturn. Rhea, Titan, Enceladus, names like that. Moving outwards, now we're moving to the planets that we didn't know about until telescopes were invented. So the next planet out would be Uranus, and that was discovered in 1781. And it was called by quite a few different names until 1850 when it was finally decided. William Herschel originally, think of the time, 1781. He wanted to name it after the king, King James. Not a great name for a planet, really, compared to the other names. So, about 70 years, different names were batted around. And finally, landed on saying, if we discovered any more planets, we really want them named more classically like the other planets in the solar system. So, named Uranus after the father of Saturn, who was also a king. 27 moons, and thinking of the time again, they were named after characters from Shakespeare and Pope literature. Names like Miranda, Ariel, Umbriel, Tatiana, Oberon. And then moving further out, Neptune was discovered in 1846, and the discoverer, Leverrier, wanted to name it after himself. That'd be a strange name for a planet, Leverrier. But eventually, he came back around after several other names as well. Named it after the Roman god of the sea, Neptune. Because if you see Neptune in a telescope, it's a very beautiful blue color, so the color of the sea. And the moons, let's see, there's 14 moons, known moons of Neptune, and those are named after the children of Neptune and Poseidon, Poseidon being the Greek version of the god. Named after them, Triton, Proteus, Despina, Thalassia. And then, of course, I'm going to include Pluto. Now, it is a dwarf planet, so we have to have that argument at another time. But we're going to include it because people love Pluto so much. It was discovered in 1944 after it was predicted by Mr. Lowell in 1930. So it took 14 years to discover this, and it was finally discovered in Arizona. When it came to naming this, there was actually a contest to name it. And a British girl, 11 years old, wanted to name it Pluto because it had taken so long and it was theorized for so long that this place may not exist and it was hard to find and hard to discover. She thought that Pluto, the god of the underworld, was the perfect name for it, and the world loved it, and it has been known as Pluto ever since. 5 known moons currently, and those are named after mythological places and creatures that deal with the underworld, like Charon, Styx, Nyx, Cerberus, Hydra. So those are the moons of Pluto. So I hope you've enjoyed a little bit about the mythology of the planets. This is Todd, signing off from the Thalimer Observatory.